Hey everybody, and welcome back to my channel where today we are going to be doing a full-length, non-spoilery review of When Sorrows Come by Seanan McGuire. So When Sorrows Come is the 15th book in the October Daye series, which is an adult urban fantasy series where we are following our main character of October Daye. She is half fae and half human, and she's a knight and a hero, and she tends to solve really oddball problems for fairy because she is the one that is best suited to solving them. And in this particular book, Toby is finally getting married. This is a plot point that we have been working to for a while now, and it's finally happening. Except at the same time as she is trying to get married, there is a plot to overthrow the High King, and Toby has to make sure that that does not happen, and also maybe actually get married. And the story goes from there. So obviously this is the 15th book in this series. I am still going to keep it spoiler free, but I will just say on the upfront, if you like this series, this is a great addition to the book series. I mean, it's just good. So if you've liked the books before, you're gonna like this one. But let's jump right into the world building, which I adore. I love this series for the expansive world building we do have, and we always get little bits and pieces in every book, and I just adore it. And in this particular book, obviously for like learning more about the customs, traditions, culture of fairy, we are learning about the wedding traditions, which makes a lot of sense because obviously Toby is getting married. Now, Toby in this particular book has been very hands-off on her wedding planning, so she is learning these customs, and that's how we, the audience, is learning these customs, and I do think that they are very interesting. As for the history, this one focuses much more on the history of the Westlands and like how this kingdom came to be, which I do think is interesting. I wanted a little bit more detail in there, but I don't think that it made sense to add a whole bunch of detail, even though I wanted it. So I'm hopeful that we do get more later on, but I think we got a great start on it in this particular book. And then additionally, as per normal for these books, we met a couple new fae. So overall, great additions to the world building of this series. Moving on to characters, this is what the book really is. So this is a wedding, right? And there's high emotions around weddings, which means that there's going to be drama. Drama with good consequences and drama with maybe not great consequences, but drama. It is just an emotional time period, and this is kind of what this book is. First off, this series has a huge cast of characters, and we see the vast majority of them on page in this book. Now, of course, because it is so big, we don't spend a ton of time with each character, but we do see them, and we see, pairs of people interacting who maybe don't generally interact, which was really interesting, and I adored seeing that. But also, like, it means that when you put so many people together, there's going to be drama, and there were things that happened that have been simmering for a while and got brought to the forefront, and just so many good interactions between people. It was just really it really captured the feeling of a wedding, honestly. And especially that week before the wedding, where it's very high stress. I think that Seanan McGuire did a great job capturing like the feelings and kind of some of the events that happen before a big wedding. And then the other thing that I thought that was very well done and also frequently happens around a wedding is we got a lot of Toby reflecting on like, look how far we've come, which totally makes sense because a wedding is, for a lot of people, a wedding is a point in their life where things change in a very large way. And so it does make sense that you would reflect on, how did I get here? And that's exactly what Toby is doing throughout this book in little bits and pieces. And it was really great to see how she felt about various people over the years and what she thought of herself you know, looking back on who she was in the first book and how she feels about that person now, it was just really, really great to see. I mean, just, oh, it was if you like characters, this book is so, so good for that. So I really, really enjoyed what we did with the characters in this one, and especially some of that drama that has consequences. Oh, I can't wait to see like what happens with that going forward. It's going to be so good. But moving on to the actual plot of like this overthrow attempt of the High King, it is a really nice independent storyline. So the thing about Seanan McGuire, if you've read this far, you probably know this. There are two basic storylines to her books. The first is that, you know, she plants the seeds and then over multiple books kind of allows it to grow until she's actually ready to deal with it and it kind of comes to fruition in one of the books. And the other is just that like you had no idea this was coming, but it completely makes sense for the characters and for the situation. And this book is one of the second ones. So we didn't have any threads, you know, earlier that I noticed to know that this plot was going to happen, but it completely makes sense for Toby and who she is and what is happening. It just, yes, of course, this makes sense. And so I actually really like that kind of storyline. And especially because in this case, I do think that it's going to have an impact on later books and what, you know, happens in this world later. It'll be interesting to see if I am correct on that. But the other thing that I think was done really well is this is the main storyline. And I think that the balance between this and what is happening with the wedding and happening with all the character interactions was balanced very nicely. I think that's a really hard thing to do, especially because like you do want to have a nice, strong storyline for these kinds of books, especially because it's urban fantasy. You don't want it to just be character interactions. But at the same time, this book is like, again, because it's a wedding, it makes sense that we would have so much of that character interaction, those drama moments, that reflection on how far I've come. So I really think that the balance was done very nicely. This and the fact of this particular storyline, just like what it is, allows for there to be space to have all of that character stuff going on. So I just think that the balance was done very, very well. As for the style, structure, and pacing, again, 15th book. If you've made it this far, you probably are good with the writing style and the structure. It is very straightforward from Toby's perspective, and it's at about a medium fast pace. But I really adored this book, and I ended up giving it 4.5 stars. I really am looking forward to seeing, again, that the impact from some of these character development things, as well as if there's going to be impact from this particular plot line and how it was resolved. I'm really interested in seeing that going forward. But the book itself was just, it was such a breath of fresh air, and it made me happy. So there you go. If you liked the October Daye series, this is a great entry in it. But that is all I have. If you've read this book, leave me comments down below with your thoughts and feelings. If you're interested in this series, I would not start here. I would start at the beginning, but it is a great series to get into. But that is all I have. So if you like this video, please give it a thumbs up. And until next time, happy reading, and I will see you in the next video. Bye!